Alright, so I'm going to be leaving Bangkok now. I'm just going to go get my luggage back at the hotel. But thought I'd give some sort of first impressions of the city after being here for a few days. Keep in mind this is only for Bangkok. I haven't seen the rest of Thailand yet, so I'm not too sure. And of course it's only after a few days, so it's just really first impressions. So if you can hear me over the noise, it is very loud here and very noisy. The city itself is very busy. There's a lot of traffic, and sort of where the probably biggest negative is going to be the air pollution, air quality. It's not great, and there's sort of air quality warnings, pretty high values for some of the days that I've been here of pollution and then like PM 2.5 particles. So that is can be a little bit rough in addition to the heat. Fortunately, with like the big buildings and things, it's not too hard to walk in the shade, find some shade, so you're not always too hot. It is like a, still developing city, I would say, but it does have world-class amenities. So if you're looking for the highest kind of luxury and the best views and restaurants, you can find all of that here. Anything you can think of that you need to buy, you can find it here. It's accessible to the rest of the world, so there's 2 airports, and it's very easy and inexpensive from some places to get into Bangkok. In terms of getting around the city, I would say it's not the easiest because there's not that much public transportation, so there are several metro lines and the SkyTrain that goes above the road here, which does cover the major parts of the city, but it's not extensive enough that you can get around anywhere and see sort of get around everywhere with just the public transit. There is a bus system, but I haven't taken it. The buses look kind of old, so I'm not going to try that on this trip. The canal boat that I took was really cool, so that's really nice, but of course that only goes down the main sort of canal, so the food is fantastic. So far, pretty much everything I've had has been really good. I didn't really know what I was missing in Thai food until I came here. So, I've had lots of Thai food all over the world, but nothing quite like this, especially in just the little kind of small mom and pop places. They were very good, and the price was great. So we're talking about $3, $3 sometimes for a good meal. Of course, you can go and spend a lot more in regular restaurants and kind of more Western looking places. They're going to be meals $5 to $10, so you're not looking at very cheap. There is street food options all over the place. Some of that is a little bit less, so maybe you can even get a meal for $1. One other thing actually about getting around the city is the taxis. So I haven't taken like a taxi just directly, but I booked taxis and rides with the Grab app, which is sort of like the Uber here for Southeast Asia. The prices for that have been very reasonable, so usually around $5 to $10 to pretty much get anywhere in the city, even pretty far, like a 20-30 minute ride. That's been really great. I haven't had any problems with it. It's all paid through the app, so it's very simple and you don't have to figure out directions or anything. Most of the drivers that I've had do not speak any English, so that makes it a lot easier that there's the app. There is some kind of taxi scams and things they have to be careful of, like in a lot of places where if you're a foreigner, you may get charged a higher amount, so that's why I suggest taking this app, or taking rides through the app, because then that way you know exactly how much you're paying. Or if you don't use the app and you take a regular taxi ride, make sure to figure out the price first, or ask them to turn on the meter. So apparently there's a thing here where a lot of taxis will just not turn on their meter and just have a flat rate, which can be a lot more expensive than the actual meter rate. So that's just a warning that I've heard. It hasn't happened to me or anything, but I've not taken any of the regular taxis. In terms of getting around the city with English, I would say For public transportation, it's not bad because the signs will be written in English in a lot of places. There's English writing, so that's not bad. Most people, I would say, don't speak English that I've talked to. Of course, in restaurants, you may get a little bit. So, but I've never had a problem communicating with anyone, even if they don't speak English. Of course, you can translate on a Google Translate or something, so that's not a problem. Yeah, so it's been okay, but I would say the kind of amount of English is a little bit less than some other Asian countries that I've been to. In terms of the tech scene, I would say there's seems to be growing a lot here. So there's a lot of co-working places and tech startups happening. So if you're looking for a place to have a tech startup, there are a lot of resources here. Apparently there's not a lot of big government support, but at least there's a little bit here and there, and it does seem to be a pretty good community for that. Apparently in terms of programmers, there's not going to be as much of an access to programmers here, although of course the rates are going to be much lower than in the West, but apparently there's a bit of a shortage in terms of programmers. It's not something that Bangkok or Thailand is known for, and any ones that are here have been snapped up by the tech companies that are already started here. For cost of living, so transportation, like I was saying, taxis and rides are going to be $5 to $10. The public transit will be around $1, maybe $2 to go further. So it's not very expensive. The food, you can eat out meals for $2-3 a day, or a meal. And housing, you can get pretty nice apartment with a lot of amenities. Let's say a small place for around maybe $600-700 a month, so something maybe like a studio size apartment, but we're talking about like a pretty nice place in a great location. So obviously you can work your way up and down from there. If you need a bigger place, you'd probably be looking at like $800 or $1,000 for a really nice one, and then obviously there's ones that aren't going to be as fancy, that are going to be a lot less than that. So yeah, you can definitely have a fairly conservative cost of living if you don't go into full kind of Western luxury. Then you can find a lot of things for a reasonable price. But it's not going to be sort of a dirt cheap city, and it's not going to be a place where you're going to be able to save a ton of money, because there are also just so many kind of luxuries here and access to more expensive things that you may just get tempted to spend a lot more money anyways compared to some other cities. So it is, it's a major kind of world-class type city, but with a bit of a developing side to it.